What is up, everyone? Today, I have a very dear friend coming onto the show as a guest here. She is known for greatness in all across professional wrestling because every place she goes, she wins no matter what, holding all the gold. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Vicious Vicki.
Now that is how you do an introduction.
Take notes, Shane.
That was great and
But respect
truthful.
the name. It is truthful. It's very truthful. Now, I feel like I have to ask Vicki, how's the neck? Like, you
I,
had a pretty bad injury beforehand at BCW, Queen of North 4. So we want to see, like, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. I got like a bunch of tests done and everything, and there's nothing. Which to my surprise, I was very like I should be grateful that there was nothing wrong, but I was very like, I'm okay. Like, what? Because it hurt. I would say the only thing I really have going on is like a little muscle strain, but I've been seeing the chiropractor twice a week. I'm trying to like rehab it as much as possible. I'm okay. Like I said, if anything, it's just muscular at this point. So I'm very lucky that it wasn't anything serious.
Yeah, I see you. You're moving ahead. You're looking
Yeah,
good
I'm good.
here.
I'm
All
good.
right. Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go. So that was a good rotation right there.
That was a good one. There's a little muscular strain right here when I go that way, but for the most part, I'm good, man.
All right, all cleared, man. I have to say, so I was doing commentary for that match, right? And I was very excited going into this because it's a big
Yeah.
opportunity for you. Though I think the only promotion you've wrestled at, you have not won a championship, is at BCW. So this is a
Yep.
big opportunity here, facing Anthony Gangone, which I believe it's also a first-time matchup, and going head-to-head, like two colossals in this sport, and a lot of hype. And then this happened, and full disclosure, as a friend, I was so concerned, but also in shock, just because I didn't necessarily know what was going on. I saw the X go up,
Mhm.
right? Um,
Yep.
and me and Puddy were just kind of like, is this a work? Or are we
Yeah.
is this part of a
Yeah.
storyline? Like I feel like a lot of people were not too sure what's going on. Then it dawned on us like, no, this is real. This is
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that's the biggest thing is that like even like, I'm sure the fans too are like, "Oh, is this part of it?" Like, um I've never done that. Like I would never ever 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 break character. Like never, no matter what. And I've had zingers and like things in matches before, but that was like, "Oh, this is my lifeline, like your heart and your neck and your spine, like, those are all things that like keep you going. And I was just like, I just cracked and I was like, nope. And I just felt weird. So I was just like, nope, we're done. We're done here. Like I'm not risking it.
Now, we've seen this happen before in wrestling, though, where like the X sign goes up, but it's part of the show.
It's work. Yeah.
It is a work. How do you feel, especially now after what just happened? Like, how do you feel about that when you see that happen?
Um, I mean, honestly, I haven't put too much thought into that.
Mhm.
I know for me, like if I don't tell the worker or the ref or whatever about it, like, excuse me, like ahead of time, like, hey, this is gonna be part of the story. Like, don't get alarmed, don't get, scared. Um, if that wasn't said to anyone, I think, you know, that's where I would be like, okay, this is real. Like even like my friends backstage, like the girls were like all rushed to me, like, and that meant a lot because it's like, you know, I would do the same too, like if somebody was hurt, I'd be freaking out, like, so I think we need to tread more, maybe more lightly with it. Um, Only because if something really does happen, and then an instance like that happens, where people are like, "Is this real? Is it not?" It kind of defeats the purpose of what it really is.
Exactly. I feel the same exact way. Like,
Yeah.
there's recently we just saw an injury angle in NXT, for example, and Putty and I, we discussed like, we didn't see the X sign because then there's a lot of debate: is this real? Is this not? But we didn't see the
Mhm.
X sign, so it makes the maybe she's okay. And so it's interesting with like thinking about that and seeing what happened there and how I felt as a
Right.
commentator. Like there's some backstage stuff that I was aware of going into that match, but like still wasn't too sure what was going on. And then it dawned on me like real quick. I was like, fuck, this is real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. So that's why I think it's one of those things that like it shouldn't be taken for granted because that's like if something does go wrong in a match, like and someone does that, like that means like help, like
Right.
And if you're doing
Especially for
that,
your safety, yeah.
yep, exactly. But it's wrestling. It's fucking wrestling.
Now,
You know?
going into the topic of that, though, I mean, it's wrestling. I literally heard you say that to the EMT. It's wrestling. But so this was a move you've done countless times. Like, it was a spinning
Yeah.
head scissors, right? And you've been injured before in matches. When you take a move or you do a move when you get injured from it, is there any hesitation going back into from doing that move? Like, do you get like kind of flashbacks? Like, how does that happen for you?
Um, so would I be open to doing it again? Probably. Am I going to anytime soon? Probably not. Not because of any other reason than pulling the curtain back here. I mean, we have a lot of smart fans now, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Um, like number one, it's like when you don't put a lot of training in or things like that, these routine moves that you do, like you might not be able to do. I wasn't really it's like one of those things where like it can be one time that you go for something and you'd be surprised. Like, like people have done maybe a moonsault 1,000 times and then, knock on wood, I don't want anyone ever to get hurt. But that one time they bust their knees because they land on their knees or something. Um, it's crazy. I don't think because I do know that like there was a little tiny bit of hesitation going like flipping. But I'm a wrestler. You can't be scared to flip. That's like the number one thing. Like at least a front flip. Um, so I've been back in the ring training, and flipping and doing things that I'm fine. I don't have any like roadblock in my head, which is great. So I think for me, like the biggest thing was not consistently training. Um, And the only reason why I did that or wasn't was because like I was training in the gym, so like my cardio was up and like all these different things, and I could hang in the ring, and um, I wasn't going to the school that I started at, and I kind of just couldn't find my niche after that or my place after that. And so I finally was like, you know what, like I have to train. I can't do this. I can't be picky anymore. Like I have to train. Um, so because of these little minor injuries that I'm having. And I noticed it myself, but I've had like, like veterans tell me like, hey, like you're a good worker. You're great. You got something. But you have to train. And I'm like, yep, I know. Like, I'm not one of those that's like someone tells me something and I'm like, no, well, I'm like, nope, you're right.
No,
You're right.
I'm
You
a
got it right.
natural, man.
Yeah. I'm like, nope, you're right. Um, and that's just part of it. It's part of what we do. And a lot of people don't. And that's not good. And I'm an example of that. Um, like you could train in the gym and be cardio ready, but little things that we do, like if
It's
you're not doing
practice.
it, even once a week for someone that's 5 to 10 years, we should be doing it more. But if you can have access to once or twice a week, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that, but there has to be some sort of practice and consistency with this sport because this is the kind of sport that like you can get hurt, you can hurt other people. Um, so yeah, I'm open, so I'm very like, yeah, man, like you gotta train. Like if you don't train, you're gonna get hurt. Like,
No, but that's the same for anything. I mean, of course, with wrestling, I mean, like because of the fact that like it's not just your body, it's also the worker's body as well that you have to take care of. So yeah, of course, lots of training has to be involved there. It is tough though because it's we talk about as actors, like you have natural talent, but you still have to train.
yep,
Being on set or like being in a auditioning, whatever. It's not necessarily the same as your own individual training, and the same goes for wrestling. Just because you're working different matches doesn't necessarily mean you're taking the proper time to train
right.
outside of that.
Mhm.
It's so different. But yeah, I think there's more importance to that because you have more to do. It's not just wrestling side of the ring. It's doing the cardiovascular stuff.
Yep,
Weightlifting. There's so much more
yep,
involved. Character training, learning promos. Like there's so much with what you do. It's like how much time do you have to do it on top of your shoot jobs?
yep, 100%. And that's the other thing too, though, is incorporating your real job with wrestling, can I make it 2 hours to a specific school, on a Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday? No, I can't because I have to work. But it's like when I first started wrestling, like I've quit my job, like I did all that shit. Like I left myself in a bind and unemployed and all those things for wrestling. Like I did that. So that's why like now I'm at this point where I'm just like, I want wrestling so bad, but I need to have a roof over my head, like
Right, of course.
so it's tough, it gets really tough sometimes.
It is because wrestling, it's a sport and it's also an art.
Yes.
And especially like, as an actor, I can relate with this because it's not necessarily the norm where like your craft can carry you financially, especially
Mhm.
living in the tri-state area.
Yeah.
You have to have other streams of income, whether for me, I started my own business. For you, you may have a shoe job. I know that other wrestlers have OnlyFans. Like I
Mhm.
know you have an OnlyFans as well.
Mhm.
Like it's different streams of revenue to help you keep afloat for the possibility to get signed
Right.
and other such.
Right.
To yeah, I mean, help what we do, it's an investment. Like we have to invest so much money into like gear,
Yep.
into training to the gym. Like it might be a write-off, whole other subject, but but yeah, we're putting money in ourselves. So that costs money on top of shelter, food, etc.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. And that's why, like I'm like, I have to put that first because if I don't have that, then I can't do this. So
Right, right. It's all a balance, and then just gotta figure out budgeting the time. It's just
yep.
I think that's the thing we all struggle with as far as finding balance. And The Rock actually had a good cool thing on Instagram talking about chasing balance. Definitely recommend that. But moving on though to talking about Anthony Gangone, right? Two colossals in the sport, as I talked about before. You guys did come face to face. Albeit the match did end in a no contest.
Mm.
Um, but now here you are. You have an opportunity for a rematch. It's a rematch that everyone wanted. It's a rematch that we're all talking about in the Indies here. BCW Anniversary 6, March 18th at Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. It is happening. You versus Anthony Gangone again for the BCW Grand Dragon Championship. Hopefully this time there will be a definite winner. So in the small brief time that you had in that encounter with Gangone, what what mindset do you have now going into that rematch? Do you learn anything? Did you see anything that you saw in the tape? Like, is there anything you could bring into this matchup that you didn't necessarily see the first time around?
I think, not just being a man and him being strong, but I think he's very strong, strong style. And I think that for me, I'm, somewhat of a brute force, if you want, if you wish. So I think going back into it and kind of colliding and knowing what strengths he's going to bring, more so than technicality, is huge for me. So I think now I'm kind of going into this like, okay, like I got to bring everything I got.
Do you think so? It seems like there's some animosity between Anthony Gangone and you right now. It seems like you got a huge outreach of support from the fans, from the workers,
Mhm.
from BCW itself for after what happened. And Anthony Gangone has posed some like interesting questions on social media, like, would the same happen for me, et cetera, et cetera. Right? How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a matter of, you know, maybe it could be a weak thing for him, they're saying things like that. For me, I'm just kind of like, for me, it was a terrifying experience. And I don't know, maybe it was for him too. But I feel like using that and going into it like, hey, like this isn't going to happen again. Like, I don't know what you thought or what you think, but well, I'm here to fight this time. Like, remove all the fancy schmancy bullshit. Like, seriously. And we're just going to go into it and see what happens.
All right, all right. Do you feel you have like the sympathy of the fans going into this? Like, do you feel like you have like I kind of like when the Buffalo Bills, for example, after DeMar Hamlin incident, not to compare instance, but like there
Mhm.
was a huge swing of momentum for the Bills, like an outpour for them to go all the way to the Super Bowl, etc. Like, do you feel like that weight going into this matchup right now?
Oh, 100%. I feel like I have the fans 100% behind me. Um, probably the ultimate baby face right now. So I will use that to my advantage. And I'll show them, hey, like, you could have scary things happen to you and still come out on top. Like, I really need new gold, and I'm more than certain that I'm going to walk out with that title. So
Does it bother you the fact that like BCW is one of the, I think, is it the only promotion you've ever worked at that you've not won a championship?
pretty much, yeah. And
Ha-
I've been a part of it for quite a while too. So it's like, what the hell, man?
you
Like,
have. I feel like we've seen different versions of you at BCW, so it's pretty cool to see like your growth. But like, yeah, it just it astonishes me. So I can only imagine how you must feel about that. The fact that you have
yeah,
not won gold there.
I want to. I feel like it's only right. I feel like it writes itself. Also taking a title from a male competitor is right on top of my list. So I'm looking this year to add, you know, like heavyweight gold, or like, I want to be that top tier. Like, I feel like I deserve that, and I feel like I am that, and I feel like I need to prove that I am that. So